Hi, didn't see you there. My name is Cherokee, and welcome to the first ever episode of Tumblweeds. This week, we're getting into the weeds with Osric Chau. You may know him as Kevin Tran from the hit CW series Supernatural, which is so supernaturally popular on Tumblr, it's actually been on our top TV list over 250 weeks. In addition to being an actor, Osric is also a writer, a producer, a martial artist, and he's opening a restaurant called Saula in December. Meanwhile, I just learned how to make banana bread without burning it, so we'll definitely have a lot to chat about. With that, let's get on into the weeds. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be the first.
The first one to get into the weeds. First question, how are you? How's it going?
I'm doing very well. I'm keeping stupidly busy. I feel like I have more on my plate than I ever had before, and I used to think I was busy.
Yeah, so speaking of having a lot on your plate, you said that you've been working on 2 pilots and 2 film, feature scripts?
Well, we're actively developing two TV shows. There's one film that we have a shopping agreement with a fairly substantial company that I can't talk about just yet, as well as I'm writing my own feature that I would like to do at the end of this year. I'm going to do my first horror movie next month.
So what inspired making a horror film?
I mean, I love horror movies personally. I like getting scared. I like the feeling of being scared, and I've always wanted to do a horror movie. I just never came around to it. But now that the pandemic has kind of changed the industry, horror's one of those genres that you can do very small scale. You don't really need that much. And you just kind of need that creativity and ingenuity to do it well. So this isn't my project. I have a helping hand in it. I'm going to be one of the leads in it. And I'm definitely going to try my best. It's my first horror. That being said, I'm also kind of taking this opportunity to learn what it takes to make a horror movie with a more experienced director as I continue to write a horror feature of my own.
So do you have a favorite horror trope or thing that you definitely want to be included in the movies that you're making?
For whatever reason, I'm not religious, but I love anything to do with demons and the Bible and, God coming at, for whatever reason, I just love that stuff. The horror thing I'm writing has nothing to do with that, but the whole Conjuring series, Ouija stuff, just trickster demons, I eat that stuff up so quickly, and I love it, and it terrifies me. And I don't even believe in God or all that, but for whatever reason, in that world, it makes so much sense, and I just, yeah, that gets me.
So that was kind of a perfect casting for you as Kevin Tran then, as the chosen one fighting demons.
Maybe. Maybe it did make perfect sense.
So, have you ever had anything supernatural happen to you, or any ghosty occurrences?
No, and I've invited it in. Maybe I'm just not, spiritually. I don't know. There are some people who are more sensitive to that stuff, and maybe I'm not. But I've been to haunted houses. I've gone to haunted places, and I actively seek it out sometimes. I probably shouldn't, but I'll go down YouTube wormholes of actual ghost sightings and caught on tape stuff, and even that holy crap, that's terrifying. I kind of want to do it myself again.
Go ghost hunting.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I feel like we shouldn't you don't want to poke bears or anything, but there's something that's so fascinating about it that I just can't turn away from.
I think you should absolutely make a ghost hunting series.
Chad Lindbergh had a show, and I actually hopped on his show, and we went to a very haunted, I think it was a haunted mansion near Boston, Massachusetts. Supposedly one of the most haunted places in the U.S. So we're there in the middle of the night, and at one point I remember I just went off to my own this room by myself, and I was just this is very creepy. And I was just talking to the ghosts. I'm if there's anything out here, I'm just chilling. Just let me know if if I'm in your space. Nothing happened, but just that. I think it's the anticipation that something might happen, the expectation that something could happen, that more than anything is the terrifying thing.
You gotta play hard to get with the ghosts.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
You're like, don't haunt me. As you mentioned, are opening a restaurant. Since it will be a little bit harder for people to get to Vancouver for the next few months.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could take us on kind of like a sensory journey through the restaurant experience.
I think as you walk in, you're gonna help yourself to some hand sanitizer. I mean, that's the new world, but we want to really foster a very, I don't know, not just like good food, but like a dining experience that kind of takes you from the door all the way through to when you walk out. So what we want to do is kind of play around with Asian flavors and stuff, but we want to kind of set up an Asian fairy tale storybook thing that kind of feels very naturalistic. And every dish should kind of feel like its own, like, it should feel like a page out of a storybook, and it should tell a story. And so this is from my experience as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, and my chef / partners. He actually went to screenwriting school, and then he ended up opening a restaurant. So, you know, it's kind of like a natural partnership. But everything we want to tell a story with every dish, with the entire menu coming together.
I'm excited for your restaurant to open. We'll definitely stay tuned there. We'll have to do an update.
Yeah, when you're allowed in the country, you should.
Yes.
I'll definitely invite you.
Oh my gosh, can't wait. Hopefully 2021.
Yeah, good job.
So we're going to segue into some user questions. There was a user, or who is a Tumblr super user, who submitted the same question to every single Q&A we did for about 2 years. So I thought it would be only right to start out with this question from user Biggest Guardian Patronuses.
That's amazing.
The question is, if you were cremated and your ashes were made into a vinyl record, what song would be on that record?
That's a good question. Selfishly, I would want it to be the worst album in the world, so no one would ever play it, so my ashes could stay in that vinyl form.
Wow, that's actually very great pre-planning. Most people are like, what's my favorite song?
Music, I appreciate music. I absolutely enjoy it when it's on, but I don't really listen to that much music. So my music knowledge is pretty minimal. It's actually abysmal. Back in my high school years with like all the boy bands.
I love a good like early 2000s emo playlist.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I haven't moved on from then.
Lori Amore X asks, can you do voice impressions or different accents?
Not well, but I can.
I'm definitely gonna need to hear some for sure.
Let's see, the one I always try to do just because I'm Canadian is the French Canadian accent. Also, one of my favorite UFC fighters is Georges Saint-Pierre.
Fantastique. Say oh.
I just feel like I'm always doing a disservice to whatever culture I'm trying to accent because they're always it's pretty bad. I
found a Tumblr called "Is Kevin Tran Back from the Dead Yet?" And it has been updated every single day for the past 2,472 days. In honor of this very dedicated user, I thought we should ask a couple Kevin Tran questions. So the first one is from It's a Dark Paradise 3, who asks, did you like how Kevin's storyline ended? And if you could make any changes, what would it be?
I guess now that the show is over, I can say my piece. No, I would have loved to. Okay, you know what? It's a really tough question because one, Kevin, what they did with Kevin was not what they originally intended, and the fact that they kept Kevin on as long as they did and did as many things as they did with Kevin, like I'm very thankful for. So I don't want to sound ungrateful. That being said, there are so many aspects of the character that I would have loved to explore. I would have loved for Kevin to kind of end up being a hunter in training and going that route. Especially coming from a stunts background, martial arts. Like I would have loved to do some of that on the show. And then you get a really full transformation of this like shy little kid in high school trying to be all scholastic and then him going another way.
Yeah.
Would have been pretty fun for sure. Again, that's me thinking very selfishly as an actor, wanting to do things. In terms of story, Kevin's kind of a tragic hero. Like it would have been nice to have some kind of, I don't know, just solace at the end. Like our last goodbye with Kevin is that he's going to be alone for the rest of his life, like that, or his undead life, like all eternity. Essentially, he's just wandering the earth by himself. He's not neither here nor there. Like, that's freaking sad. Like, Kevin hasn't had really any positive things happening to him in his entire duration of the show. So he's such a tragic character. So I mean, I don't know if it changes it too much if you give him like a little happy something, but maybe it does. Like, I would have liked to have seen Kevin have some kind of happy ending. That would have been nice.
So if you could give Kevin his own final episode, and that would be where he wraps, what would you have happen in that episode?
I mean, I would have him, even if he's still a ghost, if he could just like hang out with his mom and be with her, you know, they could just be a family again. Like, that would be nice. Him knowing that she's safe, or if he can take care of her, or if she's taking care of him. I don't know what you need as a ghost, but that would be nice. I would have liked to see that reunion and just like, okay, we're happy here. The fate of the world is no longer on your shoulders, and I mean, you're already dead, but you know, you can just kind of chill out and watch your mom grow old and die peacefully, hopefully.
Kevin's fam, final episode.
Yeah. You
are really big into crashing cons and crashing the stage. So do you have a favorite con crashing story?
2014 San Diego Comic-Con. I was in costume in my Journey outfit. There was a beautiful independent game called Journey, so I was in that Journey outfit, and I just went through the entire Comic-Con in that outfit. The morning of Sunday, Hall H, which is like the hall of 7,000 people. I remember I was volunteering with Random Acts, and we're handing out coffees to the people that stayed overnight in line. And I was in that costume the entire time, handing out coffees. And, you know, it's kind of a creepy costume, and everyone wanted to take the coffee from Misha. So it was hard for the rest of us. And I remember when the panel started, I just got myself into line, and I was second person in line. And by the time, like, it came to me, like, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything because I'm in this mask, and I really couldn't see through the eyes. And I just remembered, I'm like, oh shit, they're talking to me. I should say something. And I was trying to say something through the mic and I couldn't. So I just ended up taking off my mask, and, you know, the whole place erupts. But the only thing I can hear is this girl behind me screaming at the top of her lungs, like, I should have taken the coffee. and that pretty much made that memory for me.
That's great. I believe you have some things from your childhood home that you're going to go and tell us about. Yes. The first thing that I forgot that I had, but I used to cherish this a lot, is my gavel. I was student council president in my senior year, and as part of that is you get a gavel. Wow. So what was your student body president speech like? What did you promise? I won by default, so there was none of that. It was, you guys have no choice. I am the guy, so let's live with it. You were the only one who ran? I'm the only one who ran. There was a couple other people, and then they dropped out, so it was just me. And I'm like, okay. Well, not as, fulfilling, but, I'll do my best. You got a gavel. You got a gavel nonetheless. So. And I got a gavel. So, say you're the winner here. Yeah. But it was, it was a big part of my life, and it certainly shaped me to who I am today, being student body president. And looking back, I definitely realized that I knew nothing. So I need to go back and do it again at some point. So do you have any more show and tell objects? Yeah, so this is a jacket that was created for the Akira project. The first forays that I had into independent filmmaking was just taking a chance and trying to figure things out and learn. And so I showed up, didn't know who I was supposed to meet. The director ended up picking me up, and I stayed at his in his guest room for a week, and we just talked and worked out what we were doing. And I really got into that independent spirit, and that kind of set me off on a path that had me learning a lot about all the stuff that I'm doing now, right? And I ended up going back and doing more projects, but it kind of started off with this jacket. Well, I think you're gonna have to put the jacket on.
Oh, still fits.
Fab
It
jacket.
Still fits. It's a pretty cool jacket.
Before we get out of the weeds, I'm just gonna throw a few co-stars at you, and I would love for you to give them a yearbook superlative.
Okay.
Okay, so first one, Misha Collins.
Most likely to be pranked, for sure.
Jensen Ackles.
Jensen Ackles. Most likely to be in the corner brooding. I don't know why. Like I can't like stop staring at Jensen's face sometimes. Like, man, he's like whatever he's doing is like he's doing it really well. You know, when he's like concentrating, like especially like, you know, when he's off in his own space, he's usually like, you know, like concentrating, and it's like so fascinating to watch, which is why he's probably a good actor, because you just want to like stare at his face.
What are you thinking?
I know.
Chris Pang.
Chris Pang. Chris Pang. Most likely to. Man, he's changed. Most likely to be working out now. So back then, I would say most likely to skip dinner, because he hated food, and now Chris is like the opposite person. I don't know if you've seen pictures of Chris. My buddy Chris Pang is an actor on Crazy Rich Asians, Marco Polo, a bunch of stuff. He is now like 40 pounds of muscle on top of what he used to be. He was back home with his family, and he just worked out every single day, and he's massive now.
Truly impressive. I cannot imagine. That sounds like a lot of work. Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu, I mean, most likely to star in her new show. I feel like I've seen so many Lucy Liu shows pop up in the last couple of years. Go Lucy.
John Cusack.
John Cusack, most likely to be biking around set. When I worked with him on 2012, he had this electric bike, and this was like in the early days, and I thought it was the coolest thing. They had a helicopter to take people off the mountain, but he just took his bike. Grant Gustin. I love Grant. Like most likely to be upset at himself. I feel like Grant is so hard on himself, and he like, you know, he's like, if he's good, he just like kind of gets to himself, but he's a lovely fella. And Candice Patton. Candice most likely to be running a set. I feel like she's like, so if she weren't like an amazing actress, I feel like she would be she'd be a really good first AD. How about Hillary Hindi? Hillary, most likely to be missed because she was too short, and you can't, like, you know, you're trying to like look for her. Most likely to go unnoticed. Hilly's very striking if you can actually see her, but there's been a couple of times where, you know, if I'm looking too high, I just don't see her, and I'm not even that tall. Hilly Hindi hiding. Yeah. How about Hannah Hindi? Hannah Hindi, most likely to boss you around. Same thing as Candice, but like times 10. Hannah, when she turns it, she's like the cutest little thing. When she turns it on, she's like, whoa. You know, and I think that just the juxtaposition between such a sweet little voice and in such a tiny body, all of a sudden she's like, okay, yes, what do you need me to do? Finally, Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood, most likely to help anyone out in anything. Elijah is one of the most generous people. Like he's so generous with his time and energy that you kind of like feel bad. You're like, no, like let me help, and he's already there and done it. Yeah. Aww. Most generous soul. Most generous soul. That's so pure. Wow, you've got some great co-stars. Yeah, I've been really lucky. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for taking all of this time to speak with me. It was so lovely to see you on the internet. Thanks for having me on the internet, Cherokee. Take care. Have a good one. And that's it. Thank you so much for rolling with us for this first episode of Tumbleweeds, and see you next time.